Well, let's make a block of this title area, and we'll test it out on a layout space, a pages space. So we'll select everything that we want to put in our title block, right click, and we'll create a block. We'll call it title number 1, because I suspect we'll have quite a number of opportunities to revise this title block. So we're going to pick a base point so that when we bring it into a drawing, it'll be anchored at the point that we pick, and we'll pick down in the bottom right hand corner. And to select the objects were already selected. Do we want to convert it to a block? Yes, we do. So we've created a block called title 1. If we select it, you can see that it's just one entity. If we right click and go to properties, there's the name of the block there, title 1, its position and so on are all recorded. So if we now create a page, a new page, what this particular designer would like is an A1 page. So we say create edit page, new. We'll give it a name. We'll call this A1 sheet. And in the paper size, we'll click on A1, and we want album, so we'll OK it. Now let's right click and zoom extents. So we're looking at our A1 sheet. At any time we can select pages and select page, go back to the model, and we're back in the model. Let's go back into that layout space by picking the A1 sheet. There's nothing on it at the moment. What we want to do is try our title block, see if it fits. If we pick the measure distance, we want the title block to be somewhere, say, from about there to there, about 140 units here. If we measure from one side to another, this should be the size of an A1 sheet. 826 is right. So we have an 826 millimetre. I'm working in the metric area, metric unit, with my base unit as millimetres here. So that's an A1 sheet in millimetres. Let's swing back, before we do any more, let's swing back to the model space, and we want our title block to be about 130, 140 units or millimetres long. So let's measure the distance, and what is it? It's 25,000, so the title block is way too big. And what I'm going to do is to scale it down. But I'll do the scaling down in my pages. So I'll select a page, pick an A1 sheet, and then insert. We're going to draw insert block from the drawing. Remember, we called it title 1. And as I bring it in, I'm going to scale it. I don't want to specify it on the screen. I'll scale it at least by 0.1, and I'll need a lot more than that, but we'll bring it in 0.1. I think I might take that off for the moment. I'll say specify on screen. What I don't like there, I'm going to cancel from there. Let's go draw and insert block from drawing. Pick that up again. We've got 111. So I'll say I want to specify the scale as it comes in, and it will be a uniform scale. So okay, in we go. So we're asked for an insertion point, so I pop it in, and now I can scale as I go, and we'll just make it about the right size. So now we can move it into position. So I did dynamic scaling, which is not terribly elegant, but that's about the right size. So in a moment, let's measure from about there to about there. It's 300, so I'll make a little note that I want my title block to be 300 units long as a separate sheet. I'm quite happy with the logo, looks reasonably interesting. I might want to thicken up the spines of the plant, but as a logo, I think that works reasonably well. So it sits there. We've now got a logo on our A1 sheet. I'm going to go back and redo that logo as a separate drawing, so I can bring it in from a separate drawing, back as a block from a separate space at any time that I want. If I wanted to have a border around the sheet, I'd draw rectangle and put our border like so. Now that the border's in and the title block is in, let's return to the pages, to the model, and we'll zoom extents, because we no longer do we need any of this material that's sitting around there. But what we do need, this is the bit we need, the actual design. So I'm actually going to turn the design into a block, and I'll call it all. And for a pick point, we'll just pick bottom left and say OK. Now let's return via the pages, select a page, and we'll go back to the A1 sheet, remembering that we've got a block called all for our design, and we can insert it. So draw, insert the block that we've called all. We're going to specify it on the screen. We'll say OK, and so in it comes. We click for a position about there, then as we move our cursor away from that click position, can you see the block is being scaled up? And I'll just scale it so that it fits pretty nicely in the space. So there we are, it's a block. I can pick it and move it as one item. It wants to come across a little. Whoops, I've just moved it a little too much. So I'll move it again from the edge to about that position there. Oh dear, I'll undo that. I picked rotate. The beauty of the undo is, of course, you get back to where you were. Select the block again, this time not rotate, but move from that position there to, say, that position there. And we're done. Now it sits reasonably well. I might want to move it up a little. But if we select the block and rotate and look at properties, we can look at its scale. Its scale is in the X, Y, and Z the same, 0.0195. So it's very near. We can make that a whole number, 0.02 and 0.02. And Z can be, in fact, the same, 0.02, although we're not interested here in the Z coordinate. So now that I've put those in, that block is scaled by 0.02. So 0.01 would be 1 in 100, 0.02 is 1 to 50. So you're looking there at a 1 to 50 view of the design on an A1 sheet. So we could label it however we want. You'll notice down here that the scale bar came in at the bottom. I prefer that scale bar to be moved over here. So once I've got my scaling right, I'll explode that block, pick up the scale bar, and the text that goes with it, and right click and pick move, and move those across and put them there. We'd also want to put a north point and other information and other notes. So there we have a 1 to 50 view on an A1 sheet of the design. Now you might want to put information about, you'd want, this designer has used numbers and mixtures of letters and numbers to indicate the species. So you might want to put another piece of paper with that plant schedule on it. You can do it in different ways. And the piece of paper could be an A4 sheet, which would go along with the drawing. So you'd attach the A4 sheet to this A1 size sheet to work on a system for identifying those plants. So our title block works reasonably well, but I'll show you in the next movie how we can further improve the title block.